Well, then, of course, there's the David Hoy interview.
It's got to be one of the most well-executed practical jokes in the world of magic.
The David Hoy story is kind of, magicians tell it to each other, it's kind of like the joke The Aristocrats. How well can you tell the David Hoy interview with Blaney?
Yes, yes, that was a beautiful story. When David Hoy was doing the interview.
So I'm just gonna leave
Is this the one? Is this the famous one? Okay.
Dave Hoy was a magician that became, I guess, my best friend in magic because we got along so well and laughed so much, and we both loved to laugh. He was into radio and television in Evansville, Indiana. There's one story that is pretty well known by a lot of friends, and when I had invented the ladder levitation and I did it at IBM Des Moines in 1965, I immediately got invited 2 months later in August to go up to Abbott's Magic Convention, the Abbott's get-together in Colon, Michigan, and we drove up to Evansville on the way and stayed the night at Dave and his wife Shirley at their home, big two-story home, and they had a swimming pool out back. And he says, "Oh, Walter, I've heard about the levitation. Could I see it? Because I can't go to Abbott's." And I said, "Well, I need to practice." So we got it out of the car, still just in canvas cases. I'd not gotten around to real cases yet. Set it up on the sidewalk on one side of the swimming pool. He went to the other side, and he called in his friends at the TV stations and the radio stations and the newspaper, and they came out and filmed me doing it. So I'm in my bathing trunks, my boots, and my Stetson, and otherwise naked. And so he has an 18-year-old girl down the street who's a friend, and she came, and I floated her in the air 3 or 4 times when we went through it, and they taped this. So I'm on the 6 o'clock news that night on TV, and I'm front page picture the next day in their Evansville paper. And we did, all this publicity. And then he threw a party for us that night at his home. He had about 50 friends come in, and we were just having a great time. And about 10 till 11, he said, "Oh my gosh, stop, 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 everything. Walter, Logan, get in the car. I've got arranged to do a radio show, and it's at 11 o'clock. We're not going to make it." Okay, so we get in the car, and we speed, almost go through the red lights, and get there, and we rush into the little radio station. And the engineers behind the glass are saying, "Look at the watch, look at the watch, get out of there." So we sit down real quick, and we're all out of breath, and Dave says, "My other guest here from Texas, he's the official Texas ambassador of goodwill. His stage name is Walter Zaney Blaney. Walter, it's good to have you here." "Well, it's good to be here, David." He says, "Well, let's talk to you. What is your favorite trick?" And I say, the levitation. And so Dave starts talking and bragging on it, and we did it here and there today and everything. And I'm thinking, this is more boring than it was with Logan. This is terrible. They're all listening at the party back home right now, and we're just dying, And he's talking about this great trick, and he just premiered it, and he's going up to another magic convention. He says, "But let me ask you, Walter, is this true? At one of these big magic conventions that you've just done, with 1,000 people out there, the men, women, and the kids and everything, you had this gorgeous girl floating on that board of yours?"
And they said, "Is it true that once you get the girl up in the air, is it true that once she's in midair that you mount her and you f*** her?"
And he said the F word real loud, and back then it was really a bad word. But immediately I went through my mind, he didn't say that. Oh, yes, he did. He's drunk. He doesn't drink. I'm dreaming. I'm not dreaming. We're on live on radio. We're going to go to jail.
That was one of the classics of all times. And everyone was going, he was going, "Oh, he didn't."
Could you imagine when those words were said in the 70s, I think? When he's, God, I couldn't even imagine. Talk about freaking out now. I'm imagining that he just lost it in the 70s when that word was said over what he thought was live radio.
And that's all going through my mind. I was stuttering like that. And I look around, and Dave is in hysterics. The engineers and 4 or 5 other people came in to see this hoax are all on the floor laughing and everything. And we've been taken. We weren't on live. This was a whole setup, a hoax, and Logan and I were just ready to go to jail.
It was a whole put up. They got the whole studio crowd in there and they did it.
And we got a tape of it. So we took that on up to Abbott's. At the party, I said, wait a minute, I got something to do. I have a little audio cassette that I want it played, and I want you all to listen to it. You'll enjoy it. It's going to be very boring at first, but if you'll just stick with us about 5 minutes, you'll be glad you did. That's all I can say. So we put the tape in, they're all listening. Oh, you know, it's like that, and all of a sudden the punchline, oh my gosh, and they went crazy. I got to get a copy, I got to get a copy. And so I sent copies to everybody that was there, and people heard it, and they wanted a copy, and they made more copies. And pretty soon I'm getting letters from South Africa, from Australia, New Zealand. We heard the Dave Hoy interview. I'd already made 12 copies to send my friends in Auckland. And pretty soon there were just hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of copies of the Dave Hoy, Zaney, Blaney, Logan Pritchett interview. And that's my friend Dave Hoy. Later I get a call from Dave. He says, Walter, are you busy Friday, April 4th? I'm guest hosting a morning TV talk show. The fellow took a 2-week vacation. I've got to come up with ideas of guests, but would it be possible to bring the levitation? So I had it set up in the lobby of the hotel, and there's 200 or 300 people there that come every morning to watch the talk show. And Dave is the guest host now. And they had Miss Washington, and the Miss America pageant was there, and I was going to float her in the air. And so I know this is live, of course, and I'm up in my room watching. Now it's time for me to go down there. The levitation's already set. So then it's my turn, and they have the commercials, so I sit down, you know, at a table to talk to Dave a moment, and then I'm going to get Miss Washington and float her in the air over here. So I kind of whispered in the commercial, said, Dave, this is not another Dave Hoy radio type interview, is it? And he says, oh, Walter, I know that's funny, that was great, but I've got so much in my mind. Don't get me off. Don't get me off. And I said, oh, okay, I understand.
He did the interview as a radio interview, and was fake. And then he did a live television interview, and it was live, and Walter knew he was live because he could see the monitors and he could see the show. and David Hoy started into the same thing. That's the follow-up story. You got to get Walter to tell you that part.
And so then we started talking a few minutes, and then things started to sound too familiar. And all of a sudden he's saying, Walter, is it true that at this big magic convention you're floating this beautiful girl in the air? I'm on the edge of my seat. And while she's floating in the air, you got a standing ovation? You know, my heart's beating because I knew we were going to go to jail. I'm looking, I know this is live, and I see the monitors, and this is going out, and we're going to go to prison this time. And he says, so you got a standing ovation? I said, yes, David Hoy, I did. God bless you, you know. Oh, and he really suckered me in twice. We just became fast friends, and then he died at age 50 with a heart attack. I couldn't believe that. For years I'd go to magic conventions and I think I'm going to see Dave walking around the corner and give each other a hug and have a great time, but he was gone way, way, way too early. But to me, one of the greats in magic.